popping up questions from participants?
In the text box. So you have a chat box which you need to open. It's at the bottom of the button to open it is at the bottom of the screen. You can click on it, and then to the right side of your screen you will get a layer with
Yeah. The company I work for has forbidden to use Zoom. So they try to block everything that comes in through Zoom. Of course, I went through other ways of getting Zoom, but it's still this old idea that the others could break in. Huh? Okay, but they will show up.
Yeah. You see, then you see at the bottom of your screen, you see participants, chat, share screen, and record.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to push on the chats, and then you will.
Dirk, I will not take any questions, right?
No.
No, okay. So I don't deal with the chat and whatever comes in. No, all right.
Oh, there is a first message from China. Greetings from the Republic of China. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All of them, probably. So.
Very true.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dirk Krol, Executive Director of Water Europe, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 4th day of Water Innovation Europe 2021, dedicated to a water smart society for global leadership. Yesterday, we had some great discussions during sessions dedicated to untapped water opportunities for urban and rural water reuse, with key topics dealing with, amongst others, the revision of the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, the Sewage Sludge Directive, the SOLT strategy, and of course we were very happy to launch the 2nd edition of our position paper on the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive. Some key messages that we got from the discussions yesterday dealt, amongst others, with the need to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050 at the latest. Of course, the importance of clearly defining what is clean water and how to define how we share common requirements. Also, a coherent and unified framework for testing methods was signaled as a key priority. Then, of course, we've seen also, I would say, during the last 4 days already is, I would say, 3 aspects continuously coming back. They're dealing with the importance of collaboration, and the digitization of the water sector, and the importance of trust to share data, Also, we discussed yesterday an important theme which we will further explore today, which is the importance of water-oriented living labs as a key instrument for the implementation of new water technologies and citizen engagement. And last but not least, the importance of an inclusive water governance. Today we continue just in a few seconds with the opening by Professor Christy Laspidou, Water Europe Vice President for Research and Technology. Then we're very pleased to have a keynote by Mr. Loïc Fauchon, President of the World Water Council. Afterwards, we'll continue with an award ceremony for the Water Governance Award, which will be handed over by Manon Berger from the European Junior Water Programme and Action. And then we will continue with today's panel discussion on water-oriented living labs, a tool to build a European water smart future, which will be moderated by Water Europe Vice President Wim van Viersen. So with that brief introduction, it's my pleasure to give the floor to Christy Laspidou, Water Europe Vice President, Research and Technology. Christy, please take the floor.
Thank you, Dirk. Thanks for this nice introduction. What a great time to be the Vice President of Research and Technology at Water Europe. It is really so much is happening in the waterfront, and I am really. It's been a very, very exciting time for me over this year that I've served on this role, sitting on the board and interacting with all these very, very interesting people and important actors in the water sector. It has been really exciting time. Water Europe, of course, is the recognized voice and the major promoter of all the water-related research and technology and development issues and innovation in Europe. So we are really proud to be in this very, very strong position at the European level. We have an important mission, which is to create this water ecosystem and improve the coordination and the collaboration among all the actors. Water Europe is a membership-based organization, so we are very proud to have a long list of important water players, and our mission is to improve the collaboration of all of this, because we know that only through collaboration we can achieve the results that we want to achieve. We can make our mission the reality. Part of our mission is also to enhance the performance and competitiveness of the water sector and the water ecosystem, and to contribute to solving the global water challenges through research, technology, development, and innovation. So it is very important in our water vision to recognize the challenges. We know that we are going into this time where water is at the front and should be at the top of the agenda when it comes to sustainability and addressing the challenges. We are facing water scarcity. Large parts of Europe, of course, the southern part more, are really hit with serious water scarcity issues, and we are facing pollution of the environment. There are, of course, steps taken, but pollution remains a very important aspect. And then climate change, of course, climate change that we have to take it seriously, and we have to take steps for adaptation and mitigation and facing the extreme events. In Water Europe, we talk about a water smart society. So what is a water smart society? What makes our society water smart? It's a society that actually recognizes the true value of water and realizes that. And this, of course, I will keep saying today that it's all about the people, everybody in this. When I say the society, I don't just mean the high level either the academics or the water utilities. I mean, everyone, all the actors, the citizens themselves need to recognize the true value of water. When we speak about water, all water sources and all available water sources should be managed in a way to fight water scarcity and to fight water pollution and to avoid water pollution. So we speak about the water loops and the circularity. Wastewater becomes a valuable stream, gray water, black water. I like the fact that we use all these colorful terms for water, but it is important to recognize that there are resources in water, and the water and resource loops have to be closed in order to foster a circular economy and to optimize the efficiency of our resources. Another part of a water smart society would be to create a water system that is resilient. So resilience becomes another very important term in the times that are coming, because we are facing the extreme events, we are facing climate change, and we need to shoot for efficiency and resilience. Innovation is a very, very big aspect. We, we are involved in all these research projects, a lot of them funded by the European Commission or by other funding instruments. In all of these projects, in all the research front, we work on innovation. Our four pillars of innovation are the following. So first of all, multiple waters. As I said before, water is not just the clean water that runs from our faucets. There is value in gray water, in black water. There is the blue water, the green water, which is rainwater, brackish. We have surface water, we have groundwater, different qualities and different uses and different resource availability in each one of these streams. So we speak about multiple waters, multiple uses of this water in order to make it all efficient. Digital water. What an exciting time again to be here. And now that we have so many technologies creating really a revolution, giving us the potential to create a revolution in how we use water. We can have sensors, we can know what is happening in our water systems, the distribution systems, the networks that are underground, in remote locations. We can have buoys in oceans emitting quality in remote water quality and other characteristics and depth and other such properties in remote locations, because we have the technologies, we have the sensor, we have the connectivity, we have internet, we have satellite, we have all these equipment that can give us information and data. We speak about big data, data that come and we need to take advantage of. We have many of these digital tools. We can use models, we can use artificial intelligence, machine learning, and we have been using, and we have been becoming so much smarter and so much more informed on what is happening in the water, where the leaks are, where the problems are, where pollution might come up, where we might have a cybersecurity threat. In all these fronts, the digital world, ICT is a great tool, and we need to take advantage of it. And of course, we can also get smarter in the water governance, the way we govern water, and how we are all involved. It is important, of course, to recognize the value. Another one of the innovation pillars is the value in water. There is a lot of value in the products that we get out of water. Tourism is very much water related. Of course, food that comes out needs massive water, fuels, energy, healthcare, the nexus. When we speak about the nexus and we have water as the first word, we can create a lot of these very interesting nexuses that show the strong interrelationship of water with these other sectors. So when we try to achieve our goals in water, we also need to consider the whole value chain and all these elements that are related to water. And this is a part that Water Europe works on, the nexus and the innovations. And then another innovation pillar is the nature-based solutions, those solutions that create the hybrid gray-green infrastructure. We used to have predominantly gray infrastructures, cement and plastic and such solutions that are typical in the engineering world. But now we understand that we need to respect nature and adopt some of these solutions in order to make our world and societies more resilient and more friendly towards nature. So we need to mimic nature in many ways and bring these balances in our new solutions. So we speak about the gray-green infrastructures. We also speak about blue infrastructures. So taking into account all these different elements that we can exploit to make our solutions more nature-friendly and again more resilient towards climate change. In my role as the Vice President of Research and Technology here, I am in charge of our collaboration program. We have all these very exciting areas that we work on, the innovation, the circularity, the digital part, all these things, but all these are happening through a very nicely outlined collaboration matrix. So we have this, as I said, we rely on our people, we rely on our stakeholders, and we make them work together. Our members network and collaborate along the water value chain, and this is how they address the water challenges, and they shape successful project consortia. I've been involved here since, I don't know, for some time now. And I remember when I came here, I had no project, and it was so exciting to meet all these people and be able to create, take part in consortium, go, alongside the bigger players, learn how they do it, and become part of this community that makes change and makes reality our water vision. All this happens through collaboration, and this is what we try to do here in Water Europe. There is so much value in collaboration. We know that we can't achieve anything here in Water Europe among our members, but also outside in the world. We need our solutions are innovative. They're all, sometimes there are difficulties. Sometimes we may step on some people's toes because we go against their interests. So we need to recognize that different actors in the water sector have different interests, and sometimes they are conflicting. And we need to see where we can reach a global optimum, something that will lead to resilient and sustainable societies for all, and not only for one's interest. This happens only through co-creation, co-design, only through bringing people together, only through having stakeholders sitting around the same table. And I think I've said that before. All these years, as a younger professor, I thought it was all the challenges were in the technologies, in the solving this equation and that. It is not. The challenge is in actually putting people together and making them work together and recognizing their differences, respecting them, and actually making change. So this doesn't happen on its own. We are developing tools. Digital tools can help us. We can create new visions. We can create virtual reality and show the people what the world might look like under the new reality. So people need to see in order to be convinced, and people need to work together. We promote this collaboration in our living labs. These are the water-oriented living labs that the Vice President of Innovation Wim van Viersen spoke about yesterday. So we promote stakeholder engagement, we promote collaborations, we promote nexus, not a silo thinking, not just water. Water Europe is not about just water. Water Europe is about all these other resources that interact, and we know they interact. And only through collaboration and nexus thinking, we can systemic thinking. Only through that we can achieve our vision, and we can achieve the goals of the Green Deal, and we can achieve the goals, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So we have all these different elements coming together. The quadruple helix is what it is. So these are the different actors that need to come together and sit around the table in order to have change. And our collaboration program promotes that in the form that we do it in our working groups. So here in Water Europe, we have all people networking and bringing their ideas in the working groups that are thematic. So we have different themes that people propose, and these they are not static, they change. So we make sure to enrich them, to bring the new ideas all the time, because as I said, the landscape is changing, the actors are changing, the demands, the challenges are changing. So this is reflecting in our, reflected in our working groups that are thematic and that are led by some of our members. And then our working groups are working together in a collaboration matrix. They are grouped in the horizontal in the horizontal vision leadership teams that are innovation driven. And we now define 3 of those vision leadership teams: digital for water, circular water, and hybrid green-gray infrastructure. Those are the 3 themes that are covered in the horizontal. And then all these are implemented in the vertical clusters that are implementation driven. And this is where the living labs come in, and they are grouped in industry, cities, and rural. So covering the whole landscape through this collaboration. Water Europe, we have the, we are very happy that we actually influence the European Commission in the calls. So you will see that our mission matches the calls very often. It's because our voice is heard by the Commission, and they want, of course, to hear the experts. They want to hear the demands of the water stakeholders and reflect that. We are really happy to say that as Water Europe and our members are very successful. As I said, very successful in projects. As I said, the working groups could be the incubators of projects, of consortia and projects. So we form these projects, we submit the proposals, and we are successful. If you look into the successful water-related Horizon 2020 projects, 75% of the participants of the successful consortia are Water Europe members, 75%. So if you look at the ones that are successful, you will find them here. And this is already a very, very big value for our members and for all of us that are here. I saw this happening for me personally all these years that I am involved here. So Water Europe supports the members. First of all, supports through the Horizon Europe guidance, because now we're entering the new funding program. Horizon 2020 ended, and we enter the new one, Horizon Europe, which is the demands are different, the templates are more complicated. Here you will find specific help on the nitty-gritty things that need to be done, but also on the thematics, on the water-related projects. You will receive analysis, what calls are relevant, where to go. You will receive guidance here on how to be successful in these projects. Water Europe can support its members, the projects, either through becoming a partner, a consortium partner, or we can provide a letter of support, or becoming a subcontractor. So any way the coordinators or the consortium chooses, Water Europe is there to help and support. The role of Water Europe will be communication and dissemination. Usually, there is a lot of either we might be leading the the work package on that, or take a co-leading role or a big part of that. Our network is the biggest asset of this. So we can offer networking, policy, water-oriented living labs, which are very trendy, I might say, these days. A lot of the commission calls ask for those living labs, and many people talk about them. I don't think they know very well what they're doing and why they're doing it. Here you will find the knowledge on that. And a big part that we want to emphasize more and more is clustering. So this will be a service that I think Water Europe will offer more to its members. The clustering, the Commission likes to cluster projects and groups of projects together in order to maximize impact, and it makes a lot of sense. So the projects that are funded under the same call, they're called sister projects, and they're all clustered together and collect the impact of all the different outputs, and they are all collected in a clustering effort in order to unify, the results, which makes a lot of sense, I think, and it's great. Water Europe can take a leading role, and I know in the projects that I run and I coordinate, Water Europe is leading that task, and it's really a big value, to the consortium. Okay. We are now entering, as I said, the new era. The calls, I think, came out yesterday. They didn't open yet, but they will open in a few days. But the work program has been announced, Horizon Europe. There is so much going on, and it's such an exciting phase that we are entering, a new program, new rules. It will be a challenge, but we're all here to help to be successful. And to make a difference, to make this, to realize our water vision and make the society that we live in a water smart society. Wouldn't that be great? All this, as I said, is happening with people, collaboration, with women, gender. I did not mention this time. We want a gender balance. We want age balance. We want the young and the more mature. We want the women, and Water Europe involved. And Water Europe is making an effort in that. And I'm pleased to say that there is quite a bit of nice gender balance. But this is also something that we work very seriously on. We take very seriously in Water Europe. Okay, I think I will finish now. I know when I start speaking, it's difficult to stop, but I have to discipline myself. Okay, what a pleasure it gives me to introduce our next speaker. It's an honor for us to have with us Mr. Loïc Fauchon, who is the president of the World Water Council since 2018, and he was previously elected as president from 2005 to 2012. So a lot of years in this position, this very, very important position. Mr. Fauchon has been strongly dedicated for more than 25 years to international advocacy for global water security and access to water and sanitation for all. It is very important that we have him with us. So please, Mr. Fauchon, I give you the floor. Thank you for being here. Please.
Thank you, Mrs. Vice President. That's a great pleasure to be with you. I would like to say good morning, everybody, and dear friends of water, because I think everybody listening is or could become a friend of water. First of all, on behalf of the World Water Council and myself, please allow me to thank Water Europe for its kind invitation. That's a pleasure, a real pleasure and honor to be with you all today, even if it's only virtually. I hope it's the last time. I remember that the last physical board meeting of the World Water Council was held in Belgium in February 2020, only a few days before the announcement of a total lockdown. And we had the pleasure of meeting Water Europe colleagues in Brussels on our last day. Coincidentally, Mr. De Croo, your executive director, will be the special guest of our first hybrid board meeting next end of June in quite 10 days. And it will be our pleasure to welcome him at the Council's headquarters in Marseille. As you know, dear friends, the World Water Council is an international multi-stakeholder platform with around 400 organization members from quite 60 countries distributed, like Water Europe in different colleges. The World Water Council is owner of the brand and co-organizer of the World Water Forum. Every 3 years, our mission is to mobilize action on critical water issues at all levels. And the Council focuses on the political dimensions of water security, sustainability, and resilience. As you know, water is our dedication because it's our most precious resource. Yet water is under increasing pressure from rapidly growing demand due to galloping urbanization first, global demography, and then climate evolution. Achieving water security depends on many factors, and particularly, it has been said by you, Mrs. Vice President, governance, finance, and innovation. And the synergy between these three elements is vital for a sound and strong foundation of water and sanitation security. Innovation has led to the most incredible advances in the water and sanitation sector, reducing the number of people without access to safe water and sanitation, and to better manage the volume of water that we dispose of. Water security must benefit from technical and digital developments, not only in Europe, but all over the world. That's our raison d'être. Today, for example, seawater desalination by reverse osmosis is implemented in more than 70 countries, perhaps more, around the world at an acceptable cost. And the reuse of wastewater is also a major advance. It's more than an evolution, it's perhaps a revolution that will gradually become widespread. You know the example of Singapore, where river water has been mixed with water from sewage treatment plants for over 10 years. In Tunisia or Morocco, golf courses, gardens, parks, and now agricultural fields are using wastewater effluents. But digitalization is also a great step forward, not only for water supply operators, but also to allow farmers, citizens, industry to monitor their daily consumption and detect leaks in their private networks. The entire water cycle is concerned by digital innovation, whether it's, few examples, the use of sensors to detect pressure, leaks, and water losses throughout the network, remote control to optimize and assist operations, forecasting to announce weather events and sometimes disasters, data processing to understand demand, adapt supply, optimize billing and tariffs, process optimization to improve energy efficiency and performance, and all kinds, and there are numerous, of mobile applications. As a former CEO of a national water supply, wastewater and environment services private company operating under public contracts, I know personally the value of research, the value of development and innovation. This is the reason why the World Water Council underlines the necessity to create all over the world a real innovation culture. On the occasion of this conference, I would like to remind you that innovation is not limited to technology, but also concerns finance and governance. Finance, because we must invent new capacities to mobilize additional funds to finance in the poorest countries infrastructures and their maintenance. And governance, because we will have to adapt step by step, year after year, to deconcentration and decentralization in the field of water, which are the foundations of modern democracy. Now, more than ever, we need wise, sustainable, and above all, equitable innovation for all. Dear friends, all the technology or innovation is in the world is not enough, but it needs political will. Political will. We strongly believe that water is a political issue. And as we have been saying for a long time, water is politics. Water is politics. Since its creation, the World Water Council has been working to make water become and remain a global and local political priority. We engage with head of states, with ministers, with parliamentarians, with basin agencies, with local authorities and communities on water issues to make sure that water takes its rightful place on the political agenda. These decision makers have, and we have with us, the responsibility to set the tone, to be an example. It's their duty, it's our duty. Every 3 years, as I have said, the World Water Council co-organizes the World Water Forum. The 9th edition of the forum will take place in March 2022, and for the first time in sub-Saharan Africa, in Dakar, Senegal. The aim of the World Water Forum, this forum, is to bring together key political actors, business leaders, researchers, academia, NGOs, donors, and international organizations to share experiences and know-how. All together, we will further contribute to ensure water security for all, water security everywhere. This edition of the forum is designed around 4 priorities, which are water security, rural development, cooperation, and of course, innovation. The ambition is to create a more integrated momentum, cross-sectorial exchanges and catalyzing action through responses able to change daily lives of billions of people. Obviously, everywhere, people on the ground always ask us the same question. Will the forum give us running water and toilets at home? We have to be able to answer yes. We need everyone's help to be able to say yes. And Water Europe has a role to play. Day after day, yes and yes. The world must realize that water is the key to improve lives and alleviating poverty. By putting water first, you generate benefits in health, in food, in education, in energy. And with water, it's a 5 fingers alliance for economic growth, but also for nature conservation. I strongly believe that with continued collaboration between all sectors and actors, as you are doing at Water Europe, we can succeed. Maybe we could not act yesterday, but what could be our excuse for today? And what could it be for tomorrow. Let us act now together, and I wish all of you, a fruitful and successful conference. I hope that you will be able to join us for the 9th World Water Forum and help us bring the long-awaited solutions and response to Dakar in March 2022. Thank you for your invitation and thank you for your attention.
And dear Mr. Fauchon, thank you very much for those, I would say, inspirational words. It's clearly, I think, from your discourse, it's very clear that Water Europe and the World Water Council, we really share a common narrative. So I'm really looking forward to continue, I would say, our mutual exploration on how we can improve our collaboration, as you already referred to. We had a first point of contact a little over 1 year ago, which I think was a very nice start, and I'm very much looking forward to speak at your Board of Governors in 2 weeks. And of course, as you already mentioned, I think the World Water Forum that will be organized in Dakar will be an important opportunity to once again raise the importance, I would say, of an equitable, I would say, water society, a global water society. And we will be very eager to collaborate with you to achieve that. And with your collaborators, we've already been in contact, and we have already, for the political process that also that you were referring to activate different actors in the European Parliament to be able to, so that they will actively contribute to the World Water Forum. So once again, thank you very much for your inspirational words. And then now we're going to continue with the next part of the program, which will be today's panel discussion, for which I have the pleasure to announce the Water Europe Vice President, Wim van Viersen. No, sorry, I'm going too quick, by the way, sorry. We still have a session on the awards. So I take my words back. So now I'm very happy to announce Manon Bergen from the European Junior Water Program in Action. And Manon will hand over today's Water Smart Awards. Manon, please take the floor.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Manon Berge. I'm from France, and I'm a sociologist working in water management for a consulting company named Acteon. I'm also very lucky to be part of the European Junior Water Program. Today, I will be announcing the winner of the Water Governance Award, who awards public and private organizations proposing successful governance solutions for the water sector. So the winner of this year's Governance Award is Colm Gaskin for Central Solutions, who developed a holistic solution to address water stewardship across industry and enterprise. So Colm, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Manon, and good morning to all. Thank you very much to everyone involved in Water Innovation Europe 2021 and to the committee for selecting us for this prestigious award. We at Central Solutions are very proud of our work on the Certified Water Stewardship Programme and the wider Water Stewardship Industry Engagement Programme in Ireland in recent years. The origins of the programme can be traced back to 2013, when with the support of the Irish Environmental Protection Agency, we established the Large Water Users Community of Practice to provide a platform for large water users to address their shared water challenges collectively. This led directly to the publication of a national roadmap for better water stewardship across industry and agriculture in Ireland, and the development of a novel 5-steps framework for businesses, both large and small, to better understand and address the responsibilities as joint custodians of this precious resource. The Certified Water Stewardship Programme itself has been developed on the foot of the exciting work and contributions of over 300 firms that make up our community of practice, now drawn from Ireland and across Europe. We have pooled together the insights, knowledge, and experience of these firms to build a suite of tools, methods, and award-winning training to help others successfully address the water-related challenges. The programme offers a clear and tangible solution to addressing water stewardship in enterprises at a regional or corporate level. One of the truly unique aspects of the programme is how it has brought together key national stakeholders To date, with over 350 water stewards fully trained, a new national annual certification system in place, over 1,000 individual water improvement projects underway, and an average of up to 20% reduction in the water footprint of participating sites. The program continues to go from strength to strength. We are also actively seeking partnership across Europe to roll out the program further, as it has been built for scale and Europe-wide impact from the get-go. I'd like to finish by saying thank you again to Water Europe, to all of the program sponsors and stakeholders, and in particular to the fantastic team at Central Solutions for making this program such a success. Thank you again.
Dear Colm, thank you very much. Also, I would say congratulations from my side with this Water Governance Award. I think a very important topic, and I think a very important solution that you have produced here. Good.
Thank you.
Then, as I said, I was a bit ahead of the program just before. But then we do indeed turn now to the panel discussion, which will be moderated by Wim van Viersen, Water Europe Vice President for Innovation. Wim, please take the floor and introduce your panel.
Okay, thank you very much, Dirk. Well, Colm, congratulations from my side as well with your award. Well, I'm Vice President Innovation. Chrissy already mentioned that. By the way, only for one day more, because my term expires, and it was a great privilege to be the Vice President Innovation for Water Europe. I'm moderator of the session. We have a panel discussion with 3 panelists, and I will introduce them to you shortly. Well, the idea is that each panelist will give his or her take in 5 minutes. Intervention on the question whether or not Europe is a front runner in a water smart society, and that is in response to the narrative. After that, we will have a Q&A, and I will try to keep an eye on the chat box to see if there are any other questions coming up from the participants for the panelists. Now, what is the basic narrative? The narrative is water is a matter of investment for the future. So we need to better identify, develop, test, and validate innovative solutions, inclusively with the support of the young generations. With 105 water-oriented living labs identified already, does Europe have the right tools and skills to be the front runner for achieving a water smart society? In summary, the question would be, WOLLs a tool to build an EU water smart future? And I would say for 2 reasons. Internally within Europe to build a water smart society, but also in framing our connection with the rest of the world. And partly for our companies, that's a matter of being competitive. Well, I'm very happy we have 3 panelists. I have to be honest, we were looking for a 4th panelist on the level of citizens' engagement, which turned out to be very complicated. So this is already something we could discuss. How come? Well, the first panelist is Alexis de Kerkhoven, at present for almost 10 years at Xylem, currently Senior Director, Business Development and Marketing, Water Infrastructure and Europe Commercial Team at Xylem, a water technology company committed to solving water by creating innovative and smart technology solutions to meet the world's water, wastewater and energy needs. And it's a multinational company with over 16,000 employees. He's a board member, and of course, Xylem is a member of Water Europe. Before that, he served 4 years at Suez and also worked before that as an engineer at Yale and Oxford University. And he once started his career as a molecular biologist at Louvain-la-Neuve in Belgium. And he took his university education at the same university, but also at Yale and the ESADA Business School in Barcelona. The second panelist is Ioana Dobrescu, at present for about 2 years, project manager at the Water Footprint Implementation, an innovative startup company, and program officer at WellSkills, so you divide your time, almost 4 years as well. Before that, she worked for the European Union Water Programme, the Netherlands Water Partnership, TEDx in Wageningen, and the East Netherlands Development Agency. Yes, Joanna, I looked very carefully in your profile. And you're holding a master's degree from Wageningen University. Of course, I went there as well, so I'm very proud to see a Wageningen alumni in this panel. Then Miriam Boveda, at present team leader Sustainable Growth, DG Regional and Urban Policy, in brief DG Regio, and team leader for Sustainable Growth in DG's Regio's unit dealing with innovation, digital economy, small businesses, environment, climate change, energy, just transition, and transport. I had to look into what just transition is, but I found out. Maybe it will pop up in the panel discussion. As a European project manager in the Toulouse City Council, she was in charge of the setting up and management of European cities networks, of course, very relevant for the WOLLs sort of framework, as well as programs and projects concerning sustainable urban development and social inclusion. She holds a master's degree in European law, Université des Sciences Sociales, Toulouse 1, and a Bachelor of Laws degree from the Thames Valley University in London. Now, my own background is one of a combination of basic and applied research as a university professor in Wageningen and in Delft, IHE Delft, Technical University Delft. And apart from that, I've been managing several basic and applied research institutes at the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences, Wageningen University and Research, and was CEO of KWO Water Research Institute. When you become older, your list becomes longer. It's not because it's just a matter of age. I'm officially retired, but currently consultant for Aveco de Bond. It's the member of Water Europe, and that's an engineering company. Back to the narrative. Does Europe have the right tools and skills to be the front runner for achieving a water smart goal? Now, before going into the details and have a discussion about that and the Q&A, I would like to ask each of the panelists what your generic take on this would be in a 5 minutes intervention. And I would like to invite, first of all, Alex de Kerkhoven. You must be there.
I am here.
Oh, excellent. Well,
You can hear me.
Alexis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Wim. It was a very kind introductions, and thank you for your diligence in digging into our profiles to be so accurate. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much for this opportunity to participate. I will try to stick to the time, but it's a topic that we are passionate about, so I cannot guarantee that we will stick to 5 minutes. As a brief intro, Xylem is a leading global water technology company, and we are committed to solve critical water and infrastructure challenges with technology innovation. And as a company, we also strongly believe that economic growth cannot be attained without simultaneously focusing on and strongly delivering social and environmental impact. And this is critical for the discussions that we will have today. As we speak, Water Europe is publishing also its position for the revisions of the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive that Xylem and hundreds of other members of Water Europe are strongly supporting. And if you go through, and I highly recommend you to go through that position, you will see that we have high ambition and targets in order to solve to take immediate actions to protect our environments, fighting climate change, and providing European citizens with the common right of access to sanitation. Among those ambitions, we want to push for carbon neutrality by 2050, address combined sewer overflows, and the treatment of micropollutants in effluent wastewater. Those ambitions are very aggressive, but very important to take them together. They're addressing a couple of challenges immediately to everyone in the water sector. Among those challenges, we count financing, governance, technologies, and those are important challenges to be addressed to make sure that those ambitions can be applied and that we take immediate actions against the issue that I mentioned earlier. But let's see those three challenges one by one. When we talk about technologies, the challenge is not in the gap or lack of technologies. The challenge is or resides in how to select the right technology stack with the highest potential of success to be affordable, build resilience, and access to water. So it is critical to consider that complexity. When we talk about governance, and Wim introduced it really clearly, we cannot reside on the management of water the way we did before. Those models are expired, the challenges are different. We see climate change, complex pollutions, and the latest pandemic has made the public and youth aware that clean, fresh water is not anymore an infinite resource or neither a commodity. It is limited and needs to be protected for sustaining our common European commitments to have access to water as a human right. So it becomes now even more important and primordial to include the public and youth in management of water by providing real-time transparency on the effectiveness, on the efficiency of local water management systems. The third challenge that I highlighted is the financing. You're probably all aware that the OECD published in 2020 a fantastic report highlighting the gap in investments across Europe to meet the targets among our existing directives. It's about a 20% gap in investments that is required for securing water supply and sanitation. Now, because of that gap or limited funding across the sector, the water sector has adopted a very rigid procurement model that is basically based or governed by price. It is not favoring the specification and selections of new innovations, truly, which sometimes require higher investments at a source, but overall has significantly lower life cycle cost or cost of ownerships. So this rigidity is the issue that we need to address. So therefore, we are here together for discussing this. And the promotions of water-oriented living labs is critical. What is the living labs that we're talking about? To our understanding, it's a temporarily but highly specialized collaborative structure that allows for the demonstrations of innovative solutions in a full-scale infrastructure. It includes multiple groups of various stakeholders, including the public. It breaks the silos and the common commercial rivalry between technology suppliers. It promotes the inclusions of smaller startups that otherwise would not have the financial strength to validate the technical and commercial viability of the technology. And finally, Living Lab deliver results early enough to be considered in the specifications of large projects, offering them a chance to succeed in being adopted through the investment process. And prevent sometimes cheaper solutions and less effective solutions to be selected because not meeting the specs. I have two examples of living labs here, and each of them builds differently with different purpose, giving great success. The first one is born in the US, in the city of South Bend in Indiana. You probably have heard of that city because at that time, Pete Buttigieg was the mayor of that city, and he was a candidate to the presidential race last year or 2 years ago. At that time, the city was under a huge amount of stress due to new or more frequent rain in the city, and the existing infrastructure could not absorb that rain and had more and more frequent sewer overflows. So the mayor, Pete, at that time, decided to build a living lab with a startup from the local university. The startup was called MNet, and that living lab between the municipality, the local water utility, and the startup made or built together a system that designed a digital twin of the wastewater collection system that reduced the sewer overflow by 70% and reduced the original investment plan from 2.4 million euros to 600,000 euros. And that overall budget allowed to be much more affordable to the city and its inhabitants. In this case, the Living Lab was made of that structure and allowed for a startup to be on the stepping stone and have access to a full-scale infrastructure to finally commercialize their project. The second example is in the UK. And as you know, Ofwat has recently pushed for a 15% reductions of water leakages in the M7s between 2020 and 2025. And to address this very aggressive target, Yorkshire Water has announced the creation of a Living Lab. In this case, this lab is regrouping 15 leading organizations that are offering solutions, usually competing against each other. And in the case of this Living Lab, they're collaborating to design the best technology stack that will actually provide the right solutions for Yorkshire Water. It involves advanced metering infrastructure, data analytics, and together they're really going against the common rivalry that they have as competitors and work towards a single solution. So as you hear, it is more than ever critical to use the structure of Living Labs to better address resource management across Europe and address the high ambitions that we have. As a conclusion, I like to connect Living Labs as an opportunity to address the right way governance, finance, and technology stack that otherwise are extremely complex to design. It is a very inclusive structure to favor collaborations and emergence of innovations from groups of commonly competing entities or small groups like startups. And finally, it is extremely important to work together in promoting such structure by favoring access to incentive, early call to projects, and a large bank of partners willingly to collaborate, such as the one in Water Europe. So on this, Wim, I'm sorry if I exceeded a little bit my time, but I thank you very much, and I look forward to the questions from the audience. Thank you. You're on mute, Wim.
Good morning, Joanna. You probably have a little bit of a different take on the issue from your own perspective. May I give you the floor?
Yes, thank you so much, Wim. And thank you for the introduction as well. I'll try to keep it short and to compensate maybe a bit for the time. But I would also like to give a bit of background and context to my participation in the panel today. Because as you rightly introduced me, Wim, I'm a project manager for water footprint implementation, but I'm also a program manager for wet skills. And the Wet Skills Foundation is a Dutch-based organization that works internationally with students, young professionals, but also with senior experts on intergenerational exchanges on water challenges. And what we do is we organize 2-week learning programs in different countries across the globe. And in these 2 weeks, the participants, who, as I mentioned, can be students, but they can also be young professionals, PhDs, up to 35 years of age. They work in mixed intercultural, mixed academic backgrounds, but also mixed gender teams on water challenges posed by organizations from the water sector. And they have to come up with innovative, out-of-the-box solutions. And at the end of this two-week program, they have to pitch their solutions most of the time at a high-level water event. And the whole program is organized in the form of a competition to push the participants to come up with really innovative solutions and to position themselves as leaders and as drivers of change. We've worked in, I think, more than 23 countries so far. We've been active for 10 years. We've had more than 40 events in this time. And every year we're growing and we're organizing more events. But Wet Skills itself works on a sort of volunteer basis. So the people who are organizing the programs and who are delivering the programs in different countries, they work on a sort of volunteer basis. So this is why we can wear several hats at the same time. But working in this way with, with flexible professionals from the water sector also spurs collaboration and a very close link with the water sector. Now, having this context of what WEDskills does and how it works on intergenerational dialogue and on developing the skills of youth and young professionals, I will be focusing my intervention today on that aspect of a water smart society from the human capital perspective, from this development of youth and young professional skill perspective. So going back to the question of, is Europe a front runner in creating a water smart society? From our perspective as an organization that works with young minds across borders, we don't see a very big difference in the skills and the capacities of young people. Young people who, who either follow a water study, but also from different studies who have an interest in water. We don't see a big difference. So in that sense, I wouldn't say that Europe is a front runner. And again, I specified that I'm not referring here to technologies or to access to finance or to governance models. It's strictly from capacity and skills perspective. And the reason for that is, of course, we do work with people who are at the university level or at a practical college level. But I think the main reason for that is the internet. Young people have everywhere now access to internet, and with a bit of research and a bit of scientific article reading, you do get to understand and to be up to date with the innovations, with the challenges, with the needs of the water sector. And young people and young professionals are very passionate and are very keen to be up to date and to have this knowledge. And especially when you bring them together in the sort of mixed, pressure cooker type of program, they are very keen to show their knowledge and to show that they are up to date with the latest innovations and the latest knowledge. So very, very simply put, from that perspective, I don't necessarily think that Europe is a front runner, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. And I really enjoyed the speech of Mr. Fauchon, if I pronounce it correctly. And I especially loved when he mentioned that what we need is also equitable innovation. And I would go forward, or I would go beyond that. And I would say we don't just need equitable innovation, we need an equitable transition to a water smart society. And I think the way to reach that is to continue to promote this collaboration and this cross-border exchange between Europe and the other regions of the world, beginning with developing the skills of young professionals. And I think I kept within my time.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's a little bit surprising that you're saying that you don't see any difference, but we can understand that we're growing towards one world, but it's very interesting. We'll come back during the panel discussion we have. Miriam Boveda, may I give you the floor?
Yes, thank you, Ben. And thanks a lot for the kind introduction. On the question, is Europe a front runner? I would say that Europe is very diverse, and all regions and territories don't depart from the same level. So it's very difficult to speak of Europe as a single entity, because you see the map behind me. It's the different level of development of regions, and you see already that we have a departure point which is very different. Maybe I will focus on two main features of cohesion policy that can help becoming a front runner. The first one is as you know, we have a new growth strategy, which is the European Green Deal. And we are working on the basis of this new growth strategy, which of course is leading our work. And of course, sustainability issues are a major issue for us. And we are looking at projects and the program through the lens of this European Green Deal. What does this mean? It means that we want to ensure just transition in all European territories. And a just transition for all territories means that we know that some territories will have major impacts to reach this objective of climate neutrality by 2050. And we will support the cost of this transition in the territories most impacted. So this is what just transition is about. And cohesion policy is supporting these strategies, which are aiming at ensuring a just transition for all territories. Another key feature of cohesion policy is that we have a place-based approach. And we aim at investing in place-based innovation and smart economic transformation of a territory. And secondly, we aim at deploying technological and social innovation at a large scale. So these different instruments, I think, are key to reach and becoming a frontrunners in the longer term. And I think this also addresses the issue on governance, because we are working on programming and on a strong partnership at territorial level and agreement on strategic investment with all local and regional stakeholders. In terms of financing, we represent 1/3 of EU budget, and so investments in sustainable growth and in particular in water have been major investments, especially in the less developed European regions in the past, and will remain key investments in the future. And maybe I would like to underline two challenges also for the future, which we are addressing through this REACT-EU package and the recovery package, of course, where we have a major crisis, and this major crisis we want to address with recovery plans, which we are at present discussing with member states, and also focusing on green transition and what we call twin transitions, which are the green and digital transition. Also, we are addressing in our investment policy climate change, and we are providing guidance to member states on how to consider climate challenges in designing projects. So this is the first overview of what we are considering in our policy, which I will develop further, and I'll be happy to develop further in our discussions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we now have, as a sort of kickoff, three different perspectives. Now, knowing all this from a sort of overview perspective, now you go to reality, and then you ask yourself, okay, if we would like to include everything that has been said, it would make the world a much better place and a much more water smart world. But what are at present, in your opinion, the key drivers today? So in other words, are there any hurdles or obstacles that prevent us to sort of kickstart innovation in the domains you have mentioned, not only technologically, but also on governance? And so what are the key drivers today in society and in the water sector? Are they far away from what we want to see or not? Alexis, maybe from a technological point of view?
I think that in several cases, we are on the spot. I mean, we see more and more immediate engagements from municipalities and utilities to adopt such structures early on, prior to decide where investment is going. So the smart society discussion is high level on the agenda of executives within those organizations. The key now is to make sure that technology suppliers don't remain technology suppliers, but also collaborators, advisors, together, not competing, but building together solutions that truly fits to the local challenges. And there's not one technology stack that will look like the other one. It requires data, it requires information, it requires transparency. And those are, I would say, the missing pieces across Europe that we need to sort of agree upon. It's like, how do we make data more available? How do we make informations more reliable? In a smart way, right? Because data is a pollution if it's not transformed into a relevant information. So we're all mindful of that. But I think we see that even more, the more conservative utilities these days are moving forward in opening their mindsets to the importance of data, of telemetry, of informations, and we see that there. So I believe that we are on a really good path on the adoptions of such structure.
Okay, so, but Alex, what you're saying is that the terminology and the concept of sharing, even between commercial entities, and of course, sharing in the past between commercial entities was, well, that's formulated like it was not customary. You see, you think that sharing data and define what you share and what you're not sharing becomes important?
Absolutely. I think that it's the water sector needs to work in a glass box. A glass box means the opposite of the black box, where we want to go away from the, let's say, the Apple model, where only an Apple iPhone or speakers works with the Apple iPhones, and the plug is unique and everything is unique for one supplier. We're talking about a glass box where we're all working towards the best management of water resources and make them affordable, clean, safe, and with a strong resilience for the market, let's say.
Okay, Joanna. So how does your activities relate to the key drivers? I mean, are you finding enough opportunities to sort of to come in and to with both your activities, as the foundation as well as with the younger people? Is there a need for you? Do you have to struggle, or are you really sort of your approach is being embraced?
I think our approaches are being very much embraced, and we see the same enthusiasm again across Europe, from the Netherlands to Eastern Europe, for example, in Romania, where we will be organizing the 5th program this autumn. And I will continue a bit on what Alexis just said, that the water sector needs to work in a glass box. And what we try to do through our programs, and what we see is the biggest challenge for youth working in these mixed teams, is collaboration. So again, the technology, the availability of information around what's the latest innovation in terms of water treatment or water smart infrastructure, it's all out there. But what they really find difficult is collaboration and jointly discussing ideas and sharing that knowledge that they have. So what we do through training programs and through the actual challenge itself is to force them to share that knowledge and to get a bit outside of their own head and their own way of thinking, and focus on sharing and connecting that knowledge. And again, I also liked what Miriam said in terms of different starting points across Europe. And you see, for example, that of course, in more towards the west of Europe, the universities are already trying to offer more attractive programs for young people to join their bachelor's or their master's programs that focus on water. But in Eastern Europe, they're still lagging behind. And we see that the workforce in the water sector, especially in Eastern Europe, is getting closer to retirement age, and there are very few young people ready to replace them. And that's also because there's just a lack of investment and a lack of attention on making the water sector more attractive for young people, and attracting maybe people who have a background in ICT or in energy, and explaining to them that there's also a place for them in the water sector, that we have to think across sectors, and to unite these different types of knowledges. So I do see that there is a need for this type of programs as wet skills and for youth development.
Yeah, is because you're saying this is relevant for Eastern Europe. What about Western Europe? Because we have this sort of plug flow of a cohort of people that are near retirement or already retired, sort of causes a lot of problems in some of the water entities, the public entities.
It's definitely not just Eastern Europe. We see a bigger lack of attention from universities and from the government level on promoting the water sector and promoting water studies for young people. But we definitely see the same issue of the aging workforce in Europe and in the west of Europe, and not only. And I think in the US, in the coming 2 years, about 40% of the workforce in the water sector is reaching retirement age already. And very few qualified people are there to take their place. So it's definitely not just a European issue or an Eastern European issue.
Okay. Miriam, but because we always look at the Commission and Europe at large, what kind of incentive systems would be productive in becoming more innovative, more inclusive, younger generations? Is the incentive system something that wording is being used? I mean, one is looking upon as an effective incentive system, and for different parts of Europe may be different.
So I would say there are 3 key features we are basing our work on, and which I think are very relevant in water innovation. The first one is the smart specialization strategies. So working on smart specialization. The second is partnerships, building partnerships. And the third one is promoting synergies. The smart specialization strategies, maybe you know that they have been the key organizing principle since 2014 for our innovation under cohesion policy. And the aim is to prioritize funding in the areas where countries and regions have the most potential for knowledge-based development. For instance, you have smart specialization strategies related to water in some regions. And in total, we have at present 185 of them, some of them working in the water sector. So I would say this is the basis for development of knowledge and innovation and getting funding from a cohesion policy in those countries. We know that now there is around 40 billion invested in these smart specialization strategies, and in the broader sense, in working with SMEs and businesses, 80 billion euros. So this is quite an amount of investment in this innovation base. Second, you have to connect these innovation systems across Europe, and this is the second part, it's the partnerships. And in the future, we want to develop further the partnerships, so far we have, for example, a partnership working on water smart territories, which is one example of that I can give on building this Europe-wide knowledge and innovation in water. And for the future period, we want to we will have a directly managed program, which will be an interregional innovation instrument to further develop these interregional connections. And the third element, which I mentioned, is that we want to work in synergy with Horizon Europe programs, so that the knowledge that is developed thanks to European funds in Horizon Europe can be deployed in the territories with cohesion policy, and especially we need to accelerate the uptake of new technologies in less developed regions, and this is where the bulk of our funding is. So we need to connect research and the needs for developing this research and our funds which are existing.
Yeah. Okay, now Alexis already mentioned it. There are a number of dimensions, of course. If you look at the water sector, it's not only technological. We know that it's about governance, and it's about the other issues that are relevant for innovation. So not only technology, financial schemes, and things like that. Now, if you would have, if all of you would have limited money, because I'm going to ask, where would you put your money on to have the largest impact in the future? Would it be technological or governance? And of course, the answer, what is not allowed is we need a balanced approach, because of course we're all smart people, so we would say a balanced approach, that would be the answer. But what would be a key factor considering the situation right now? So these 4 different dimensions. What would you say? Technology, governance, finances. There was a 4th one. Well, let's consider these 3 ones. Sorry?
I'm okay with those 3 already.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, Alexis?
Yes. You know, I would stick on the positions that Europe already has great infrastructure. The important, if I had limited amount of investments, I will split it into the governance and the technologies. Using existing infrastructure, but modernizing them with digital is the key. Digital allows to take advantage of existing gray infrastructure, limits the constructions of new gray infrastructure, which is the most expensive. Civil constructions, engineering, those is first the most expensive, and second, what has the highest impact on carbon emissions. We know well the steel and the carbon and the concrete industry is produce a huge amount of CO2 equivalent. So investing into information, giving access to information is critical. And that leads to my second point, the governance. Governance, as we discussed from the beginning, is the inclusivity of public, of youth. It means that to onboard a large amount of stakeholders, they need to have visibility of what we're currently doing in terms of effectiveness and efficiencies. Effectiveness means how good are we at treating the water. Efficiencies is how good are we at doing it in a smart way with low energy use, low carbon footprint, and so on. That leads to involving stakeholders, allows them to have visibility of their own impact, their own use of water, their own way they can save water or reduce their bills, and allow for a governance where the polluter pays. The polluter pays because it's being tracked, it's being monitored, and there is full transparency among those stakeholders. So this is where I would put, you see, the small funding we will have is enabling new technologies such as the digital to provide transparency, and then allowing that as a cascading effect, an engagement of different stakeholders, both for managing their own way of saving resources, but also on the way we can finance the system.
Yeah. Okay, Joanna?
I agree very much with Alexis here. I would also place my money on the governance part. And again, looking at the differences in adopting technologies across Europe, there's definitely a need for changing, for example, the procurement system, which is also mentioned a bit before, that that puts accent on the lowest price and limits the implementation of innovative technologies. And again, I give the example of Romania because that's where I originally come from, where we still very much lag behind drinking water and wastewater infrastructure and connection for the population. And we're still, digging trenches and laying pipes and gray infrastructure at great cost that, more developed regions in Europe are already past, and they're already moving forward from that type of approach. So definitely my money goes to governance. And as Alexis said, again, on including the citizens, making them aware of their own impacts, including the private sector, and again, enabling the agencies that have to do compliance, enabling them to do their job. Because a lot of the environmental protection agencies, for example, do not have the capacity, both in terms of human and also financial capacity to do the compliance they have to do. And that's why, even if the polluter pays principle is there in the legislation, it's not really being implemented. So the technologies are there. Yes, we do need to invest a bit more into developing emerging technologies, especially related to the digital sphere. But when we still have to provide for the basic access to drinking water, to clean drinking water, and to wastewater treatment, then maybe we should start from there, removing the barriers to good governance.
Maya, what would be your take?
Yes, thank you, Evan. When I look at this issue through the lenses of cohesion policy, of course, you have places where governance works perfectly. But we see that across our programs, this is a major challenge to implement projects and to have successful outcomes. And sometimes it doesn't mean much money. So in a way, it's, and we are always looking at the best value for what we are investing. And I think definitely this is where investment would be most valuable, because in some other cases, you have projects which can generate revenue. And so in a way, they wouldn't need financing because they would be able to have their own revenue and be sustainable financially. So
yeah, but what I hear, Miriam, is not, I hear best value for money, if I summarize it, but I don't hear that you think that we need more money to be spent on technologies, or so the amount of money is not the key issue, because you as a panel say it's governance, it's of course quality, gray-green infrastructures, citizens' involvement. It's not money related.
Of course it's related, but I think this is the priority number one, to have a good functioning partnership.
Yeah. Okay, may I ask to Alexis, because if we look at what we're saying, then we don't say specifically technology as a key feature. So obviously, even larger companies need to include other competences. Is this happening, you think? because if you say governance, and if you say, you could say, well, the other is responsible, so the receiving party is responsible for governance, but maybe if you make offerings, then your own competences in the domain could be important. Are we looking for new skills and competences in larger companies?
I'm not really sure I follow your trains of thought there, but maybe I'll try to answer. I think that the many technology suppliers are becoming more and more aware of the need of the gaps that we have in not only in pure technology and hardware, but also in the control and the digital part. So there is a shift in competencies towards shifting from hardware and sensors towards softwares. And when we talk about then software management, there is a closer proximity made with different stakeholders in terms of not consultancy. I don't like the word consultant, but I will call it advisory and management of data. So there is new links being made with data centers, with different stakeholders that before were never part of the discussions of the water sector. So definitely new bridges across industries.
There's a question from the participants, and I read it aloud because not to mutilate the message. Are available technologies suitable to make the system simpler and more understandable for citizens, customers in terms of consumption, cost, criticalities, impacts, in the sense that I interpret this like if you involve stakeholders, of course, they need some understanding of what's going on and the choices that have been made. So,
100% yes. Today's technologies are giving access to every single details about their effectiveness and efficiencies in terms of like impact prior and after treatment, their energy consumptions, their CO2 footprint. All that information is readily available. It's just a question of sharing it. And I think those are critical factors that the consumer needs to have. My kids are asking for it. I didn't even teach them to. They're asking me for that information when they're buying a good or drinking or doing something. So if we're not getting ready today to share the information, the next generations will make the issue.
Yeah. Now, of course, one of the dimensions of the theme of this panel is the water-oriented living labs. Well, Alexis had in his introduction, he said already something about the potential usefulness of a WOLL. Of course, that is in a certain way, it's a top-down and bottom-up approach, because you define a WOLL according to, well, probably the norms and standards that need to be kept, and so you have to discuss things with bottom up with stakeholders and citizens. Now, one of the questions from the participants is, now, if you would have a water-oriented lab, and you bring together all these parties with different opinions and wishes, and what do you have? What is a typical financing scheme for a water-oriented living lab in two aspects? One, the WOLL itself, the organizational part, and secondly, the outcome of it. Joanna?
I might have to pass this question on to somebody else, as I'm not very familiar with the financing schemes for living labs.
Okay. Miriam?
Well, if I may come back to how we work with multi-specialization strategies, and I think it's a very similar approach. Well, I think you need both, and this is why we are trying to connect we are trying to connect both governance issues and financing possibilities. So these are both needed. But as Iona, I'm not a specialist in the living labs.
Okay, Alexis?
Yeah. And there's no new questions coming up on the chat.
Yeah.
I was reading it, sorry. So interesting, the financing scheme. I see two critical sources. First, local governments of their own budgets needs to absolutely take this part. When we talk about living labs, we talk about an agile structure. It's a temporary agile structure. We're not talking about building a new huge organizations that needs to live forever. We talk about something that will allow them to make smart investments and do the right things for their environment. So definitely local budgets from governments, municipalities. And then second, incentive from the EU towards innovations. There is so many different types of funds across that needs to be oriented toward the right purposes. And Living Labs is a core opportunity to really regroup stakeholders, as I mentioned multiple times. And if that is not what the EU will wish for the best, then I don't get it. I mean, it's the core of the best that could come towards the specialized solutions for a unique challenge. Those are the ones that would probably deserve the most innovations funding when it's truly collaborative for addressing a very targeted problem.
Well, there was another question coming up and I read it aloud. Women introduced this session as a concern about the difficulty of finding a speaker to represent community scale ownership of water services. The speakers haven't answered this question, I didn't ask them, and it's key to the question of governance, in my opinion. How can we motivate or find the champions and community leaders for tomorrow? Well, a question. Well, we didn't study for it, but we have to come up with the answers. Miriam? How can we motivate or find the champions and community leaders for tomorrow?
Well, I think what was said by Alexis about transparency, and I think that you have to empower people by giving them the information, and information is key for governance. And if people feel that they are part of a project which is good for the community and that they understand what is at stake, then it's very easy. They will promote it. Yeah. But communication and enabling people and making them part of a project is key, and also the level where you intervene, because if where decisions are taken also is key. Because if you feel that the decision is imposed on you and you don't understand it, then it's very complex. I would say this, that communication, information, making clear what are the benefits and the pros and cons, and having a dialogue, a discussion, I think it's very important for this ownership.
Would you say that in the New Horizon Europe program, there's more room for this bottom-up sort of instrumentation, I would say?
Well, in Horizon Europe, we are not in DG Research, so Horizon Europe is another program. But yes, I think that they are including this dimension more prominently. And we also include this dimension in cohesion policy by allowing strategies, sustainable urban strategies. So to have strategies which are made and decided at a local level. This is very important to allow this partnership and governance with all key stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Joanna?
I agree with Miriam, and I would add to that for citizens to get involved in these sort of initiatives, they need to know that what they are contributing with is going to be taken into consideration. Because a lot of the time I have the feeling that citizens don't participate because they think, well, what I say doesn't really matter anyway. It will still be the public authorities that will take the decision, and they, they all have their jobs, they all have their families to take care of, and dedicating additional time on top of your job, your family, and all your other requirements to participate in these sort of initiatives is quite an effort. And maybe for the other representatives in a living lab or in such a construction, for them it's part of their job, but for a citizen it's additional time. So if they don't clearly see that what they are bringing to the table is really listened to and taken into consideration by the authorities, they won't dedicate their time and they won't trust it. And I personally reached out to a few speakers, potential speakers for this issue. And again, especially from Eastern Europe, and I even received answers that they would love to, but the most difficult representative of society to include in a forum for discussion on water were the citizens. So they had the utilities, they had the private sector, they had the NGOs, but private citizens were the most difficult to involve.
Yeah, definitely. Alexis?
When we talk about inclusions of citizens, it's a mass effect that we need. It's not one or two or three that will make sense, because you can always be on the wrong people. So how do we create engagement of a mass effect? Social happens, yes, social effect is triggered. But here we're talking about governance of an infrastructure, governance of a new way of handling resources. And I see that the only way to engage such large crowds is with some incentives. And the incentives needs to be either personal or let's say a soft or hard, right? A soft incentive will be my good impacts for the environment or for society. That's a soft incentive. The hard incentive is having a direct impact on their water bills, on their tax. We need to be able to play with those two through the platforms that we give to them for contributing in the decision making, in the taking actions, in the saving resources. And I don't think it's complicated. I think it's a question of like addressing it and doing it. People take decisions based on energy gradings that we have on appliances now. People are taking decisions towards the type of food they're buying, if it's bio versus regular agriculture. Water is the same. People can take a decision and impact it based on the information that we're providing to them and incentivizing them on a hard or soft factors.
Okay, now there's an interesting question because it says, it reads, we have heard of success stories. Can the panelists provide us with a case that has not been successful? And of course, the key issue then, what were the lessons learned? Of course, that is very interesting. It didn't work, and why didn't it work? Are there any examples, at least, well, not mentioning probably with whom it went wrong, but the kind of things that went wrong, we underestimated the importance of? I mean, I rephrase the question. What are underestimated sort of factors that may contribute?
Maybe I can intervene here and just give a general example from the aspect of involving youth and young people into the water sector. And of course, there's a lot of drive and a lot of passion from young people, but you also get the flip side, where you think that you can set up a program or initiative because the youth are more involved and they care about the environment, and they put their heart into it because they haven't yet reached that let's say that part of their career where they're more interested in other types of incentives. But of course, in many cases that fails, and you don't have that support or that commitment that you are expecting. But again, that's from a youth perspective.
Another question relates to if you would like to set up projects, then water is so subsidized, it says. If you would like to make a business case out of a project, because water is being subsidized, any alternative, well, it's my interpretation of the question, all the alternatives are sort of spoiled by the fact that water is subsidized. How can we manage the gap?
And I think the question comes from someone who does business in India.
Yeah.
I want to be mindful that in India, business models or governance models are very different from the European one.
Yeah.
And funding sources are obviously very unique. However, exist, quite often politically driven, but they are manageable. And when we look at, for example, the Ganges River cleanup funds, those hundreds of billions are being invested in addressing wastewater treatments being poured into the Ganges River at different points, is an ongoing funding programs that the Indian government is undertaking. Now, companies have, let's say, the operating model with those funding programs is very different from what we living in Europe, and it's important to sort of address a potential opportunity to build a living lab in those considerations between how the relationship matters, how the human contacts with the politicians matters. It is very critical to put that first because of the culture and the local governance, and then drift that down towards a collaborative effect within the living lab. So not an easy question, and that could deserve some sort of like brainstorming for if needed with the association.
Yeah, most difficult questions are very relevant questions, we know, because they shape a sort of puzzle we have to solve. There is another question related to should WOLLs, water-oriented living labs, be part and parcel of the river basin management plans in Europe? Miriam? I'm not asking for you to change policies in the Commission, but your personal opinion, because it says if you have river basin management plans, which is an official part in the Water Framework Directive sort of environment, then you could say to engage citizens and stakeholders, there would be an opportunity for WOLLs.
Well, there is a specific legal framework to river basin management plans, and of course you can always build on this framework with the successful experiences, and I don't see why we shouldn't. I mean, I think that the approach of the living labs is a very interesting one, and would certainly add value. I think it depends on the needs and the different contexts, as I said, we are departing from, but I would find it an interesting approach.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we are approaching 12 o'clock. There are two more messages I would take care of. One is, well, it's an extra panelist. It's not a question, but it's a statement. The true incentive is to give citizens a meaningful role in both the co-creation and implementation of water policies and initiatives. So it's a statement. Thank you for that. And then something that I appreciate this message very much. It reads, some good answers to my question. A further point is that we should not exclude the older members of our water community. That's for me specifically. There is an important role for water professionals who reach the end of their employed career, but retain a passion for water and public service. Is there a WOLL, a question, which would enable these experienced people to share their understanding and excitement with young people in the global water community? Well, I don't know whether they exist, but they must exist. And from experience, I know there are many times very fruitful and exciting combinations between the more experienced and the less experienced, but sometimes even more talented young people. So I think there is a positive view on the future. I think I would like to thank the panelists for their contributions, also the participants for their questions and statements and remarks. I would like to thank Anka and Loïc, because in the background, these invisible hands are sort of making it possible that we can communicate in this exciting way. So thank you all very much. Dirk?
Yes, thank you very much, Wim. Thank you for this, I think, very interesting panel discussion on the importance of water-oriented living labs. As Water Europe, we will be taking this dossier and this concept further also this autumn, where we will prepare a second edition of our atlas on the water-oriented living labs, in which we have developed this methodology for what are water-oriented living labs, but also in which we have identified initiatives that are already out there that match the definition and with whom we're eager to collaborate and to basically to bring this further. What struck me is, I mean, today again, we saw a few key messages that keep up appearing over the last few days, which is the importance, I would say, of collaboration and partnership. Collaboration, I would say, across the water value chain, across sectors, and across borders. And I think this is very important that we emphasize this and that we keep on promoting a context in which we all can collaborate to come up with these innovative solutions that are needed. And as we said, innovation is not just about technology, it's also about, I would say, governance, it's about finance. We also heard, I think, a very important term today, which is equitable innovation. I think a very interesting term that we need to keep in there. And we also heard of the importance, I would say, of political will, basically, to address all the challenges. And I think, once again, there we have some good news already. I would say in the current political climate, we're very happy with the emphasis on a digital green blue transition, because I think that really creates the opportunity and political drive to achieve our ambition of a water smart society. Yesterday, we already shared with you, I would say, the launch of the second edition of our Water Europe position paper on the urban wastewater treatment directive, to which Alexis also referred to in his remarks. And today I got the very good news, actually, that the European Commission, in its Council conclusions last Friday, on the renovation wave, which is basically the strategy of the European Union to improve the performance of buildings. There are 4, I would say, conclusions in there which explicitly refer to water, which I would like to share with you. One is on the importance to link the policy and the strategy on energy performance with the generic water policy. That we have to include there the energy water nexus. So, Christy, I know that is a point very dear to you, but it even gets better. Point 16 says that we have to promote water reuse, and last but not least, water efficiency for public buildings. So I think we increasingly see that there is a build-up for political will to achieve a water smart society. So with that, thank you very much. Now, tomorrow we will continue with our last session, which will be on the water smart society for global impact, because in our water-oriented living lab strategy, we do not only look at Europe, but also we look beyond Europe, trying to set up collaborations between initiatives within Europe and outside Europe to also help there, to learn also from what is happening outside Europe, but also share with I would say, initiatives outside Europe, what is being done in Europe. And then this afternoon, we will continue with a workshop on opportunities for hybrid grey-green infrastructures and a workshop on the value in water. So I hope I will see many of you back there today. And otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning again at 10 o'clock. Once again, thank you very much for this great discussion, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.